Far away from the bright worlds of the Galactic Empire, there was a quiet region of space. It was a lonely border sector where almost nothing ever happened. Stars were few, and the dark space between them felt endless. The Empire only kept a small patrol fleet there to watch the borders and make sure no unknown ships entered their territory. On that day, everything seemed normal. Inside the patrol ship Varlan, the bridge crew quietly watched their scanners. The ship moved slowly through the cold darkness. Blue lights from the control panels reflected on the faces of the alien officers. Commander Terex, the leader of the patrol fleet, sat calmly in his command chair. He had served the Empire for many cycles. He had seen smugglers, pirates, and lost traders. But nothing truly dangerous had ever appeared in this quiet sector. "Report," Terex said calmly. "Sector scan complete, Commander," the sensor officer replied. "No unusual activity." Terex nodded. Another peaceful patrol. But suddenly, a soft alarm sound echoed through the bridge. The sensor officer looked down at his screen and frowned. "Commander, we have something strange." Terex slowly turned his chair. "What kind of strange?" The officer hesitated. I am not sure." The bridge became silent. "Explain," Terex said. "There is a large object near the green nebula ahead of us. At first the system thought it was an asteroid, but the shape is wrong." Terex stood up. "How wrong?" The officer slowly turned the main screen toward the commander. Everyone on the bridge looked up. For a moment, nobody spoke. Floating near the glowing green nebula was something enormous. It was not an asteroid. It was a ship. And it was huge. The unknown vessel was far larger than any patrol ship. Its long metal body stretched through space like a moving fortress. Layers of heavy armor covered its hull. Bright orange lights glowed along its sides. Large structures rose from the top of the ship like towers. The engines at the back were massive. Even from this distance, they looked powerful enough to push a small moon. "Size estimate?" Terex asked quietly. The sensor officer checked his display again. "Commander, it is larger than an Imperial battle cruiser." The bridge crew exchanged nervous looks. That was impossible. Only the Imperial Navy had ships that large. "Identification," Terex ordered. The computer quickly began searching the galactic database. Seconds passed. Then the result appeared. "Unknown vessel." The system tried again. Still nothing. "No match found," the officer said. "That cannot be correct," Terex replied. "Every large ship in the galaxy was recorded in the Empire database." "Try deeper analysis," he ordered. The computer scanned the ship again. This time it found something strange. The system paused, then displayed a single word. The sensor officer blinked in confusion. "Commander, the database found an old reference." "What reference?" The officer spoke slowly. "Human." The entire bridge became silent. Some of the younger officers looked confused. Others looked shocked. Humans. That name came from old history records. Long ago, humans were said to exist in another part of the galaxy. They were explorers and builders. Their technology was unusual but creative. But according to the Galactic Council, humanity had disappeared many centuries ago. They were believed to be extinct. Commander Terex stared at the screen again. The ship outside did not look ancient or abandoned. Its lights were active. Its engines were warm. It was clearly operational. "That cannot be a human ship," one officer whispered. "Humans are gone." Terex slowly crossed his arms. "Maybe not." He turned toward the communications officer. "Send a standard contact signal." Moments later the signal was transmitted. "This is Imperial Patrol Fleet 7. Unknown vessel, identify yourself." The message echoed through space. The crew waited. 5 seconds passed. 10 seconds. Nothing. No reply, the communications officer said. Terex frowned. Send it again. The signal was repeated. Still no answer. Outside the ship, the giant vessel remained silent. Then suddenly, the sensor officer gasped. Commander, the ship is powering its engines. Everyone looked at the screen again. The enormous engines at the back of the unknown vessel began to glow brighter. Energy readings increased rapidly. The ship slowly turned in space. And then it began to move. But it did not move like a slow cargo ship. It moved smoothly. Powerfully. Like a massive predator waking up after a long sleep. Speed increasing, the sensor officer reported. Trajectory? Terex asked. The officer's voice suddenly became tense. Commander, it is heading toward Imperial space. The bridge filled with quiet whispers. Terex stared at the screen again. A ship larger than an Imperial cruiser. Unknown technology. Connected to a species believed to be extinct. And now it was moving directly toward the Empire. The commander spoke one quiet sentence. Prepare a full fleet alert. Then he looked again at the massive ship on the screen. One thought filled his mind. If that truly was a human battleship, then the galaxy had just made a terrible mistake. Because humanity might not be extinct after all. The news about the unknown ship spread quickly through the Galactic Empire. At first, many officers believed it was just a mistake. Sensors sometimes made errors in deep space. Strange readings could come from nebula storms or hidden asteroids. But Commander Terex knew this was different. The massive ship was real. And it was moving steadily toward Imperial territory. Inside the patrol ship Varlon, the bridge was filled with tension. Officers watched the scanners carefully. The unknown vessel was still far away, but its power readings were increasing every minute. Commander, the sensor officer said nervously, the ship's energy levels are rising again. Terex looked at the screen. The glowing engines of the strange battleship were now much brighter than before. How fast is it moving? Terex asked. Faster than an Imperial cruiser, but it is not using full power. That answer made Terex uncomfortable. The ship was not even trying to move fast. Yet it was already faster than most Imperial warships. This ship is not normal, he said quietly. Soon the patrol fleet command received new orders from the Imperial capital. A larger fleet was being sent. 3 battle cruisers and several escort ships were now on their way to intercept the unknown vessel. Until they arrived, Commander Terex had only one mission. Watch the ship. Do not attack. Do not provoke it. Just observe. Hours passed slowly. The patrol fleet kept its distance while following the mysterious battleship. The giant ship continued moving through space with calm confidence. It did not hide. It did not change direction. It simply moved forward. As if it did not care who was watching. Finally, the patrol sensors completed a deeper scan. The results shocked everyone. Commander, you need to see this, the sensor officer said. The main screen displayed a detailed image of the ship. Now they could see more of its design. The battleship was covered with thick layers of armor plates. Large weapon towers were visible along the top and sides of the hull. Long railgun barrels stretched from hidden weapon ports. Hundreds of small openings covered the ship. Missile launch systems. Defense turrets. Drone hangars. It looked less like a ship. And more like a floating fortress. How many weapons? Terex asked. The officer checked again. Too many to count exactly. Our scanners are still detecting new systems. Another officer spoke with concern. Commander, its defensive armor is extremely strong. Stronger than anything the Empire currently builds. Terex slowly nodded. If this ship belonged to a living civilization, that civilization was incredibly advanced. The communications officer suddenly looked up. "Commander, the ship is transmitting something." Everyone turned toward the screen. A signal appeared across every display on the bridge. It was not an attack signal. It was a message. The translation computer quickly began decoding it. For a moment, only static filled the speakers. Then a calm voice spoke. "This is human battleship Aegis." The bridge became silent. The voice continued. "We are traveling through this sector. We do not seek conflict." Terex felt a strange chill. The voice sounded calm. Almost relaxed. As if the crew of that massive ship had no fear of the Empire at all. The message ended with a final sentence. "Please do not interfere." The signal stopped. The bridge remained silent for several seconds. One young officer finally whispered the question everyone was thinking. "Humans are real?" No one answered. Commander Terex kept staring at the giant ship on the screen. Then suddenly the sensors flashed again. "Commander," the sensor officer shouted. "What is it?" "New contacts, multiple energy signals appearing behind the human battleship." "How many?" The officer's voice became uneasy. "At least 5, no, 7 objects." The screen zoomed out. Small shapes appeared behind the massive ship. Ships. Human ships. They were smaller than the battleship, but still large enough to be warships. A quiet fear spread across the bridge. The humans were not alone. Commander Terex slowly took a breath. Then he spoke quietly to his crew. "Send a priority message to Imperial Command." "What should we report, Commander?" Terex looked at the growing human fleet. His voice was calm. But his words carried deep concern. "Tell them humanity is not extinct." He paused. Then added one final sentence. "And they have returned with battleships." The message from Commander Terex reached the heart of the Galactic Empire within minutes. Inside the massive Imperial command station orbiting the capital world, the High Council gathered in an emergency meeting. The room was filled with tension. Large holographic screens showed the image of the unknown human battleship and the smaller ships that had appeared behind it. Many officers stared in disbelief. "Humans," one council member said. "That species disappeared centuries ago." Another officer shook his head. "Not disappeared. They simply left the known galaxy. No one knew where they went." "But if they left," another commander said slowly, "then why are they back?" No one had an answer. The High Admiral of the Imperial Navy stepped forward. His name was Admiral Korvax, one of the most powerful military leaders in the Empire. He studied the image of the human battleship carefully. "That ship alone is larger than most of our cruisers," Korvax said. "And our patrol fleet reports its weapons are extremely advanced." One council member spoke nervously. "Perhaps we should allow them to pass peacefully." But Admiral Korvax disagreed. "No unknown military power enters Imperial space without permission." He pointed at the screen. "That vessel is heavily armed. That is not a peaceful explorer." The council chamber became quiet. Finally, the Imperial Chancellor gave the order. "Send a full interception fleet." Within minutes, a powerful Imperial fleet was launched. 5 battle cruisers, 12 escort destroyers, and dozens of smaller support ships moved toward the border sector. Back near the Green Nebula, Commander Terex watched the sensors carefully. The human battleship Aegis continued its calm journey through space. Behind it, the 7 smaller human warships followed in perfect formation. They moved with perfect coordination. Not once did they change speed or direction. It was almost as if they already knew the Empire was coming. "Commander," The sensor officer said, "Imperial fleet will arrive in 12 minutes." Terex nodded slowly. He did not feel good about this situation. Soon the new fleet appeared on the scanners. The Imperial ships arrived like a storm of metal and weapons. Massive cruisers moved into attack positions while destroyers spread out across the sector. The human ships were now surrounded. But something strange happened. The humans did not react. They did not power weapons. They did not raise shields. They simply continued drifting forward through space. As if the entire Imperial fleet meant nothing to them. The lead Imperial cruiser transmitted a message. "This is Admiral Korvax of the Imperial Navy. Unknown vessels, stop immediately and prepare for inspection." For several seconds, there was silence. Then the human battleship responded. The same calm voice spoke again across every channel. "This is human battleship Aegis. We have already stated our purpose. We are passing through this region." The message paused. "We do not wish for conflict." Admiral Korvax frowned. "You are entering Imperial territory with a heavily armed fleet. That is not acceptable." The human voice answered again. "We are not targeting your empire. We are only traveling." Korvax's patience ended. "Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Several officers on the human ships could probably see what was happening now. Imperial weapons were charging. Missile locks were activating. Every gun in the fleet was pointed at them. The human voice spoke one more time. And this time the tone was slightly different. It was still calm. But there was a warning inside it. "Admiral Korvax, this action is not recommended." The Imperial Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Are you threatening the Empire?" "No," the human voice replied. "We are warning you." The next moment, the human battleship Aegis changed. Bright energy shields suddenly appeared across its massive hull. Hidden weapon ports slowly opened along its sides. Hundreds of defense systems powered on at the same time. The Imperial fleet officers stared in shock. The power readings coming from the human ship suddenly increased. Dramatically. Commander Terex watched the scanners with growing fear. That ship was no longer just a large battleship. It was something much more dangerous. Admiral Korvax gave the order. "Fire a warning shot." One Imperial cruiser launched a powerful plasma blast toward the human battleship. The bright energy bolt crossed space in seconds. Then it struck the human ship's shield. A flash of light filled the area. The energy faded. And the human battleship remained completely untouched. Silence filled every bridge in the Imperial fleet. Then the human ship finally responded. One weapon activated. Just one. A massive railgun fired from the side of the battleship. The metal projectile crossed space faster than any missile. It struck the Imperial cruiser. And in a single instant, the cruiser exploded. The Imperial fleet suddenly realized something terrifying. They had just attacked the wrong ship. And now the humans had shown them what their technology could do. The explosion of the Imperial cruiser lit the darkness of space like a dying star. For a moment, every ship in the Imperial fleet froze. No one had expected the battle to end so quickly. The cruiser had been one of the Empire's strongest warships. Its armor could survive missile storms and plasma cannons. But the human railgun had destroyed it with a single shot. Commander Terex stared at the sensor screen in disbelief. Damage report? Admiral Korvax demanded from his command ship. An officer answered with a shaken voice. Cruiser Valerius is completely destroyed, no survivors detected. Silence spread across the fleet. Many officers suddenly understood something terrifying. If one shot could destroy a cruiser, then the entire Imperial fleet might already be in danger. The human battleship Aegis did not fire again. Its massive weapons stayed silent. Instead, the calm human voice returned across the communication channel. We warned you. No anger. No panic. Just simple words. Admiral Korvax clenched his hands. You have attacked an Imperial fleet. This is an act of war. The human voice answered immediately. No, Admiral. Your fleet attacked first. The words were simple, but they were true. Every officer in the Imperial fleet knew it. Korvax looked at the tactical screen again. The human battleship remained in the center of space like an unmoving mountain. Behind it, the 7 smaller human ships had now activated their shields as well. New readings appeared on the scanners. Energy levels. Weapon systems. Defense networks. The numbers kept rising. One Imperial officer suddenly spoke with fear. Admiral, the smaller human ships are not escorts. What do you mean? Korvax asked. They are also battleships. The room became quiet again. Even the small, human ships were stronger than Imperial cruisers. Commander Terex watched the scanners closely. Then something new appeared. His eyes widened. Admiral, new long-range contacts detected. How many? Korvax asked. Terex hesitated. Too many to count. The sensor screen zoomed out. Far beyond the first human fleet, faint energy signals appeared across the edge of the system. Dozens. Then hundreds. Ships. Large ships. Very large ships. The sensor officer whispered in shock. That cannot be possible. The human voice spoke again. But this time it sounded slightly different. Almost patient. As we said earlier, Admiral, we are only passing through. Korvax slowly realized what was happening. The battleship Aegis was not the main fleet. It was only the front ship. A scout. Behind it, an entire human armada was arriving. The scanners now showed enormous vessels slowly entering the star system. Ships larger than anything the Empire had ever built. Massive carriers. Heavy battle platforms. And even larger ships whose purpose the scanners could not even understand. Commander Terex felt a cold feeling in his chest. The Empire had believed humanity was extinct. But the truth was much worse. Humanity had not disappeared. They had simply gone somewhere else. And during that time, they had grown stronger. Much stronger. Admiral Korvax slowly leaned back in his command chair. For the first time in his career, he realized the Empire might not be the most powerful force in the galaxy anymore. The human voice spoke one final time. We did not come here to conquer your empire. The sensors continued detecting more human ships arriving from deep space. The calm voice finished its message. But if necessary, we are prepared. Silence spread across the Imperial fleet. Hundreds of human ships were now visible on the scanners. Their signals filled the entire star system. Some of the vessels were so large that the Imperial sensors struggled to measure their true size. Commander Terex stared at the holographic map in front of him. The Imperial fleet suddenly looked very small. Admiral Korvax also saw the same thing. His fleet of powerful cruisers, which once looked unstoppable, now appeared like tiny sparks compared to the massive human armada slowly entering the system. No one fired. No one moved. For the first time in many centuries, the Galactic Empire was facing a power it did not understand. One officer on Korvax's bridge finally spoke. Admiral, if they attack, we cannot win. Korvax already knew that. The destruction of the cruiser had proven how powerful human weapons were. And that had been just one ship. Now there were hundreds. The human battleship Aegis remained in the center of space, calm and silent like a giant guardian. Then the communication system activated again. The same calm human voice returned. Admiral Korvax, we request peaceful communication. Korvax hesitated for a moment. Then he nodded to his communications officer. Open the channel. The main screen on the Imperial command ship suddenly changed. For the first time, the Empire saw the face of a human. A human commander appeared on the screen. He wore a dark uniform with silver markings on the shoulders. His expression was calm, but his eyes were sharp and observant. Behind him, the bridge of the human battleship could be seen. Advanced control systems surrounded the crew. Holographic star maps floated in the air. The technology looked far more advanced than Imperial systems. The human commander spoke first. My name is Captain Daniel Hayes of the Human Exploration Fleet. Korvax crossed his arms. You arrive with a war fleet and expect us to believe this is peaceful exploration. Captain Hayes remained calm. This is not a war fleet. Korvax raised an eyebrow. Then what do you call hundreds of battleships entering Imperial space? Hayes answered simply. A convoy. The Imperial officers looked confused. Hayes continued speaking. For the past 300 years, humanity has been exploring the outer regions of the galaxy. We discovered new star systems, new civilizations, and new threats. Korvax listened carefully. Hayes pointed slightly toward the star map behind him. We returned to this galaxy to reconnect with old neighbors. The Empire was once one of the strongest powers in this region. Once? Korvax asked. Hayes did not answer directly. Instead, he asked a different question. Admiral, how large do you believe our fleet is? Korvax looked at the scanners again. At least 200 ships. Hayes gave a small smile. This fleet is only our exploration group. The bridge of the Imperial command ship became completely silent. Hayes continued. The main human fleet remains far beyond this sector. No one spoke. The Imperial officers suddenly understood something frightening. If this was only the exploration fleet, then the real human military must be enormous. Captain Hayes finally spoke again. We do not want war with the Galactic Empire. He paused. But we will defend ourselves if necessary. Admiral Korvax slowly stood from his chair. For the first time in many years, he made a decision that did not involve battle. Captain Hayes, he said carefully, the Galactic Empire welcomes peaceful travelers. Commander Terex finally relaxed slightly. The tension across the fleet slowly faded. Weapons powered down. Missile locks disengaged. The massive human armada continued moving through the system, calm and controlled. The Empire had expected to face an enemy. Instead, they had discovered something else. A civilization that had grown far beyond them. As the giant battleship Aegis slowly passed the Imperial fleet, Commander Terex watched it disappear into the distance. And he realized something important. That day would be remembered across the galaxy. Not as the day the Empire fought humanity, but as the day the galaxy learned the truth. Humanity had returned. And they were stronger than anyone had ever imagined.